For this video, I'm going to go over how to sort of immortalize your fish catch. So if maybe you've had a personal best fish or a dream fish or a one-of-a-kind fish that you wanna remember it by, I'm going to show you a couple of different examples you can use, and different things that you can hopefully turn that dream catch into something that you can display in your house, or a display case or a trophy case or something like that. I haven't been fishing much because I had some back surgery, so I haven't been making my fishing videos as much as I normally would. So we're doing something a little different. I'm going to show you some examples of some things that I've had made, and maybe it'll give you some ideas on how to remember some of your catches. And yeah, we'll go over sort of what it takes to do it, the cost, and you can kind of see how it comes out like, and maybe it'll give you some ideas, and it'll help you the next time that you guys have some kind of a large fish or a personal best fish that you want to remember and immortalize and make a little trophy out of. Okay, so I'm going to turn the camera around. I'll show you what I'm talking about here. Okay, so I've got a display table out over here set up. It's got a couple of different examples of what I'm talking about. So I'll go into detail, but I'll just kind of skim through. So some of this stuff you might have seen before, or this stuff might be new to you, but other a lot of people are familiar with this, but some people, they're not so familiar with it. So I'll show you what are the different types of ways that you can make that trophy piece, and also what's the cost or the pros or cons with it, and what's involved. And it can be really simple and it can be really complicated. So let's turn the camera around and we'll go through everything. All right, so right over here is just like basic jaw mounts. This is right here is I think this might have been maybe like a 70 or 80 pounder back in the day, but this is a ulua or a giant trevally jaw mount. You can get in there and see all the teeth. Okay, this is a ono, or what we call a wahoo ono. This is a 50 pounder, one of my bigger onos I caught. And then we got some simple display cases here, and just as simple as just doing something like a newsprint or some kind of an article if you're in a fishing magazine, or a photograph inside a nice frame. Okay, and then if you want to step up to the more complicated, more expensive methods, there's gyotaku printing, or like fish printing and stuff. So this is a bull mahi. This is sort of the head only, and it's printed on black fabric. You can print it on white rice paper if you want. There's a lot of glare from the sun. Let me see if I can pick this thing up and take some of the glare off. That's a bull mahi print I did. Let's see what that looks like. See the details, the eye, and the shading and everything. Okay, and over here on the side here, I've got a couple of shadow boxes, and what I did in these shadow boxes, and you don't have to do this, this is just how I did it, but what I did was I kept the jaw, and I actually kept the rig. You can see the rig inside, the slide rig right there. Same thing over here, you can see that slide rig inside, and then I've got the hook in the corner of the jaw there, and I had a plaque made, or not, I guess an engraved plate. You can see it down there, which has like the weight, the date, and name. Same thing there, the weight, the date, the name. I kept the tails from the fish, and I'll kind of briefly go over what I did for the tail. But this is the tail, and then I printed 2 photos. So I got one when I weighed it, and then one at the spot. Yeah, and then I this is plexiglass, and we got here it's like a stained wood, kind of a shadow box. Same thing. Got the tail, the two fish, the jaw, the engraved plate, the hook rig, and the shadow box. Let me give you just some perspective of how deep the shadow boxes are. This is about maybe 7-8 inches deep, only because the jaws are a little high. So, this is maybe about 2 feet tall. Okay, so let's go, and then obviously one step up from these shadow boxes and the fish prints are if you had a fish mount done. So that's where you have a taxidermy. They make an actual mold of your fish, using like plaster, and they'll mold it, and they will actually cast the piece and paint it, airbrush it, and everything. That's an actual mold. That's going to be your most expensive way to immortalize your catch. These methods here, I'll go from the cheapest, obviously. So the cheapest thing to do is just a simple, nice frame. You can just get a nice frame and print it out. You can, they make frames. You can get them all the way from like a simple 5x7, 8x10. You can get all the way to something like this, which is I think like a 24x36. You can get a custom frame made. But basically just printing it out, you can go to any place that prints photos, you can pick your size. And one cool thing is you can even print the photograph on canvas. So you can print it on canvas, and what that does is that makes it sort of look like it has that canvas look, so it looks like it's printed on like a painting. So it's got the canvas material, and then you can even do like where it wraps around the edge and all that stuff. I think they call that a gallery wrap, and most printing places can do this. So that's going to be your cheapest way to do it, right? And it's simple, right? You just, and some people, what they do is at these Photoshop places, they will have several photos made, and then they take it to a place like Pictures Plus, and then they can have custom mats cut, and you can have different photos at different spacings with the mats, and make sort of an arrangement that way, and then have it framed. So that's one way. Another way, which is kind of cheap and doesn't cost much. So this is a, let me bring it out here on the side so you can see it. This is what we call a moo. I think they call this, I think this is like the big eye emperor fish or something like that, but it's a moo. And there's the moo. It's one of my bigger ones. It's not my biggest, but it's one of my bigger ones. This might have been like 8 or 10 pounds or something like that. I can't recall. We didn't even really weigh it. We just went by sort of eyesight. But that's what the jaw looks like. It's pretty neat, in fact. You can kind of see what a moo jaw looks like. That's from the top. And what this is all I did was I just prepared the jaw. And if you don't know how to prepare the jaws, I have videos on how to do that on my channel. So there's 2 videos on how to make these jaws like this. So I just prepared the jaw and laminated a photo over there. If you wanted to, you could even put the rig right over here, the rig that you caught it with. And this case here, I just picked up at Fisher, but you can buy these on Amazon. This is just plastic or plexiglass, and basically it's just a display case. People use these for like baseball. They put a baseball in there with like a card or a photo or something like that, like a sports memorabilia case. So you can use it for something like that. And so this thing was maybe like 20 bucks or 25 bucks or something, but it makes like a little display piece that you can put on your office desk or maybe your display cabinet. And so that's pretty cheap and easy. The actual preparing of the jaw is easy to do. You can do that at home. This is just a photograph. You can put the rig in here, anything else that you want to put in there, and just put it in the case, and that's it. To get it to stay, I just put some epoxy on the base. Let me see if I can show you that. There's right there. I just put a little bit of epoxy on the base so that way the jaw doesn't move and it's upright. And then on the photograph, I have some epoxy on the back, right there, holding it up. That's it. Okay, and so this is the same method for the jaws. And like I said, I have 2 videos on how to do this. So if you look on my channel, if you look up how to do the ulua jaw, it'll show you how to do that. Okay, and that applies to any, you know, ulua, barracuda, mu, papio, o'io, ono, whatever you want to do. Okay, and then you spend a little bit more money, you can get like a fish print done by someone. You know, there's a bunch of people that do fish prints. I've had fish prints done by Naoki, and I've had fish prints done by other guys and stuff, other people. There's a lot of them down here, but this is just a mahi print on black fabric. This is regular 100% cotton fabric. If you have somewhere that you can buy rice paper and you want it on white rice paper, you can do that as well. And this is just a regular frame that I just got from Pictures Plus. I think this is like a 24 by 36, and that's it. If you want to print the fish yourself, I also have videos on how to gyotaku print. And if you do this yourself, if you're able to, you know, do this yourself or print yourself, this whole thing might cost you maybe like 50, 60 bucks, 70 bucks for the paint, the frame, and the fabric. Not including paintbrushes if you don't have paintbrushes. And it doesn't even have to look fancy like this. It can just be black and white. So you don't even have to make all that detail. You can just black and white and make a little eyeball and sign your name. If you want to make it real nice, you can take it to a professional and they'll do it real nice. And last we have is these shadow boxes. So how I did this is, so I made the jaw like regular, just like how I made those jaw earlier. The tail, so what you do for the tail is you put it out in the sun, let it kind of dry out for maybe a few weeks, and then I try and remove majority of the meat inside the tail as much as I can. I try and get majority of that meat on the bottom, try and get most of that out so it's just bone and skin. Once that's removed, then I'll pour epoxy or resin inside the tail, so that seals off all that meat so we don't get any bugs or stinky stuff in there or anything. And then I'll let this dry for a little longer in the shade, not in the sun, but in the shade. And then what I do is I'll spray paint this. I'll paint it or airbrush it. And so this has been, I used like a gray, and then I went back over with like a black and a dark gray and kind of gave it like that color. Otherwise, they look real dried out, and you know, they don't have a lot of texture. It looks really dried out and flaky and kind of pale. So I kind of painted it, but you don't have to do that. Once you're, if you decide to paint it or not, once you're ready, then you get like a spray-on varnish or like a clear coat or like some kind of like a spray urethane, polyurethane clear, and you just coat the whole tail. And what that does is that kind of seals it up. So it kind of seals it and protects it, and seals it up. As far as the engraved plate right there, you can go to any trophy shop. They can engrave those for a few bucks. And then the photos, the 2 photos, this is just a regular set of photos. I think those are 4x6s. And all you do is just use a laminating machine and just laminate it. You know, just laminate it with that clear plastic, and it seals it up and protects it from, you know, like mold and mildewing and stuff like that. Once you have all this stuff ready, then you would build a box. And this is just a simple box. You know, it's just cut, you know, the top and bottom is one height, is one length, and then the sides are another length, both equal. And I just, you know, you just nailed it. I used a nail gun, right? And I used a piece of plywood on the back. Here's the plywood. Okay. So the first thing you're going to want to do is just get all your measurements set up for your box. Make sure you've got everything cut to size. And here's a little pro tip. If you don't have access to a saw, or maybe you don't feel comfortable doing it, if you buy your wood like at Home Depot or Lowe's or City Mill, I don't know, for like a quarter or 50 cents or something like that, they can cut this whole thing up for you. So you can buy the wood over there and tell them your cuts, and they'll make like 2, 3, 4 cuts for you. And you don't even have to cut it up. You can just go home and put it together and stain it and everything. So have them do it. But if you enjoy making it yourself, no problem, do it at home. But so you'll see, so once you get your measurements set, what you're going to want to do is just sort of test fit everything. The plexiglass they sell at Home Depot as well. For the plexiglass, all I did was I used a skill saw and I adjusted the height on the skill saw. By most skill saws have something where you can adjust the height, and I adjusted it with the adjustment knob, also with stacking the skill saw higher with pieces of wood. And what I did was I just cut a groove along each piece. So I measured about 1/4 inch in, and I cut about a 1/4 inch or 1/2 inch groove all on the sides here, all on the same. I just marked it and cut it. See that? There's the groove there, and that groove is exactly where my plexiglass would go. For the plexiglass, there's ways that you can cut the plexiglass as well. You can Google it. I'm not a pro in it, but there's easy ways to cut the plexiglass, and they have things that you can score it and snap it and stuff like that, and use clamps. So you might want to look at a video on how to cut the plexiglass, but that's what I did. I scored it and snapped it. But yeah, so once you got your groove set, you want to just test assemble it, make sure it's all good. As for the mounting board on the back, all that is that's black fabric from Fabric Mart. So that's a black fabric. And what I did was I laid this thing down on the table. So I laid it down flat, and then I used a quick clear epoxy, and you can kind of see it in there. And I mounted everything while it was flat using the epoxy. For the jaw and the tail though, I put in black nails, and those were my mounting points, and I epoxied to the black nails. So if you look closely, right there on the jaw, there's a nail right there. On the tail, there's a nail right there. There's another nail right there, and there's a nail right there in the middle. It's hard to see, and that's how I'm holding it up. Let me see if you can see it on that one. Right there on that corner there. Another one right there in the middle. Another on the side. They're real hard to see, but that's pretty much it. I pounded the nails to allow the tail to rest on top of the nails, and that was the mounting points. And then you epoxy it to the nails. So right there, right there, right there. And then once you have everything set, your epoxy's hardened, then you can pretty much just assemble this thing. Before I assembled it, I just picked up some stain from Home Depot or City Mill, any kind of stain that you have or you want, and I just stained the wood the color. So this is just regular stain that I put on top, and if you want to put a polyurethane, you can put a polyurethane on top, or some kind of varnish or something like that. But this is just a regular stain, or you can use an oil if you have an oil, and that's it. And you just basically assemble it together. You can just pound it with nails. I use the nail gun, and that's it. As for the fabric was on the plywood. The fabric, I did a spray adhesive, and so if you purchase a spray adhesive, and they sell them at most hardware places, or craft stores will have it, like Ben Franklin or Hawaiian Graphics, they sell spray adhesives. But I just sprayed a spray adhesive, and I laid the fabric down, and that's how it's sticking flat to that backboard there. And that's it. And this is like a shadow box, so you could display this in your office or your home, or the cabinet, or wherever you want to put it. And this is something like, if you want to make something kind of neat where it shows everything. Obviously, one step up from these shadow boxes would be doing an actual fish mount, and that's something that maybe I would consider, maybe, but they do take up a lot of room, they take up a lot of space, they are fairly expensive because of the amount of materials and work that it costs to just make the mold and make those. So fish mounts are substantially more expensive than any of this stuff. So hopefully this gives you some ideas on some of the things you can do to remember that dream catch, that that once in a lifetime catch, or hopefully twice in a lifetime, or 3 times in a lifetime. And yeah, if you guys like this video, if it was helpful, if it gave you some ideas, go ahead and give it a thumbs up, and don't forget to hit that subscribe button. And hopefully my back gets better and I'll have more fishing videos in the future. But if not, I'll try and make some of these sort of little tackle tip type videos to kind of give you some ideas on different things. I'll also have some reviews coming up on different fishing products and stuff like that. So yeah, go ahead and hit that thumbs up button and subscribe button, and I'll see you next time. Aloha.